Hey everyone, it's Steve Tolen from Stolen+Co, and we're here for another episode of Change the Game, and I'm delighted to be joined today by a gentleman who's doing some wonderful things in the world of recruitment and technology and HR tech. So Martin Herbst, welcome.
Oh, so good to be here. So I checked this out online.
You did?
I was like,
You've been a supporter.
Man. I was like, oh, we're gonna get in the ring. Gonna get in the ring with Steve.
Yeah, and there's an interesting thing we saw about boxing. Then you revealed you'd done a bit of wrestling, kind of back in your day.
So I was like, I can maybe grapple, but as I just mentioned to you, I got a cracked rib, so it's probably not a good idea.
Yeah, mate, Rocky 3 vibes. I think it was Hulk Hogan against Rocky Balboa, but we're not going to go there. But mate, thank you so much for joining us. I know you've had a really busy week and a very busy schedule, but mate, we always start off with 3 W's instead of a boring intro. Tell us a little bit about who you are, you know, what it is you're working on, what you're passionate about, and why is that passion kind of important?
Yeah, so I'm Martin Herbst. I'm the CEO of JobAdder. I'm super passionate about building and launching things, and it's top of mind right now. I get the t-shirt, we'll talk about it in a minute or so, but had a big launch yesterday. I've been in, so quick story is that, so I grew up in States. First job was in banking, realized that wasn't for me, got out of that, and then I got into tech. So I've been doing that for 25 plus years, and I just love doing stuff that actually leaves an impact with people, that they can actually, get their hands on it, and I can see that sort of that feedback, get that feedback loop. So that's a big thing, my passion, other than my family. I got 2 families. I've got, I've got JobAdder family, and I've got my family at home, and that's basically my world.
Yeah, and you've got some great people in the JobAdder family, so yeah, shout out to them. Good crew. Mate, tell us a little bit about your background. The first thing I want to stress, and you actually said this to me, this is not going to be a JobAdder kind of promo video, right? Which is really cool. So I really appreciate that. Tell us a bit about yourself, your early influences, your kind of passions, etc. Kind of growing up.
Yeah, so I grew up first in Indiana when I was a kid, like in the Midwest of the States. Then our family moved to Rhode Island. I'd say amazing family, functional family experience. Work and work ethic was a big part of, I'd say if I look back at it now, like what's really influenced me. How we actually, did yard work together, like my parents always trying to support academics and jobs and things like that. So I'm a bit of we talked a little bit about this, maybe a bit of a workaholic.
Yeah.
But that's where my passion is like, just to be able to apply myself and also see the most out of people. And I attribute that a lot to, growing up and the kind of the environment I grew up in.
Yeah. Mate, it's we definitely got shared values there. It's interesting when people say to me, tell us about Steve Tolen, and I go, I sold fish till the age of 27, and people laugh. And I went, it was a very working class role for the age of 27, so I totally respect that. And I think that kind of sets a lot of people up what you see in business, that kind of that attitude, the work ethic. So totally agree with that. But I want to shift gears a little bit. And yesterday was quite a big day for you, and I know when you came in with this big beam and smile. So just talk us through kind of yesterday, because you've had a big launch, right?
Yeah, so we launched Adder Intelligence yesterday. Okay. And the reason why I'm smiling, right, is because it kind of goes back to this stuff that I get really passionate about. So I've had I've had a lot of good fortune and circumstance to be able to lead a lot of teams across different parts of the world, and from very small teams like startups, launching new products, new tech offerings, and so I've been at JobAdder now for 5.5 years. Yep. And it's been an amazing journey. We've been riding the same kind of roller coaster with a lot of our customers. The first couple of years during COVID, and the last 2 or 3 years, it's just been tougher. So we all know that AI is a big deal. Mm-hmm. Here I am on the stage yesterday. I kind of made a joke, wow, surprise, tech guy talking about AI. The thing that I'm very proud of, and give all the credit to my team, is that we've taken more time to do this in a way that is going to deliver results. Yep. And that kind of speaks to, again, not trying to have this be too much of a JobAdder promo, but goes back into our DNA about we want the experience that you have. Recruitment's a hard job. Yep. There's lots of things you got to do. There's like 60 to 80% of what you're doing in recruitment is admin. It's manual work. It's low value work. How can we do a lot more to be able to pick up a lot of that stuff to elevate you and give you richer insights and develop better relationships? So what we've done with what we launched with Adder Intelligence is to do that in a way where you're getting the power of AI especially with candidate matching, for example, or making sure your database is as fresh as possible, the most intuitive way possible. Because there's a lot of AI out there, there's a lot of tech out there, but it's kind of thrown at people and say, hey, you have to come to this and figure it out. We want to come to where the recruiters are.
Okay, love it. You mentioned 5.5 years, some really interesting times across the world, not just in Australia or the economy. What were some of the biggest lessons you've kind of took leading the business through periods of change and kind of uncertainty?
Yeah, I think it's been an amazing 5.5 years. I think some of the biggest lessons so just a little bit more about me in terms of the way I tick. I love thinking long term. I love thinking about strategy, important things like culture. These are sort of the foundational things that really need to be able to do well in any business that you're running. I also love to just get my hands dirty. I love to run. I love to do stuff. And so you have to have that combination. So I think the biggest thing I've learned probably over the last 5 years is how important being clear about who you are, what really makes, what's the core of your identity as a business, as a brand, where you want to take that, like how do you see that better version of your business years down the road, how do you articulate that? Take people on that journey, so storytelling is a really important part of leadership. And repeating that and continuing to connect the dots. And then probably the most part I'm passionate about is being clear about what we stand for and what are our values. Because there's lots of things that change. Think about this last 5.5 years, how much has changed. Like 2020 through 2022, early 2023, it was, boom. It was booming. It was a golden age of recruitment. And in the last 2.5 years, it's been, when's this turning around?
So, I'm surprised we've both still got hair. I think everyone's feeling it right, but it's been a tough kind of couple of years. But there's a couple of things that you...
Sorry, just to before you jump in, just to complete one thought there, is lots of things change, and you need to take your team on that change, but then there's some things that don't change. And that's more important. What are the things that don't change? And I think your values as a company, how you do things, how do you support your team, how do you support your customers in the good times or the bad times is the stuff that you really need to keep coming back to.
Okay, thank you. Everyone in recruitment knows JobAdder and kind of has an opinion, right? And I guess, what is it in your words, or your own words, that makes you and the company and the people different or better than the rest?
And I think that's the privilege of being leading brand in the market, is that everyone has an opinion. And by the way, the feedback is our fuel. So we get positive feedback, that's our comfort food, and if we get negative feedback, then those are our veggies. But what I think stands us apart, what I know helps us stand apart, is it goes back to the core of when JobAdder was founded. It should just work, right? The tech for you. Again, recruitment's hard. I'm as a recruiter juggling so many different things. I shouldn't have to go into my CRM and bring out a manual to figure out how it works. It should just be easy. It should be just seamless. It should flow. And there's so much. And I come from a consumer-facing tech side of the business, where there's a lot more thought usually put into how you actually develop and design an interface. Low friction, it just flows, intuitive. A lot of systems in the B2B side are IT oriented, and they don't think that way. They're not built that way. You got to figure it out. It shouldn't be like that. So that's probably one of the biggest reasons I was drawn to JobAdder, because it had that core DNA. And we haven't gotten it right, always. Over the last few years, we have grown quite a bit. We've scaled overseas. We've done things like, expand the overall offering sets into temp, into building out more BD offerings. And that's the balance that you need to do, you need to strike, is as you expand your feature set, how do you also maintain a high level of usability? And so we're still getting that balance right. And even what we're doing in the next 12 months is a balance between, we got to fix up a lot of the the wrinkles, smooth those out in terms of the user interface and the flow. So again, like if I'm a recruiter, I'm not getting slowed down. I'm speeding up, while at the same time accelerate what we're doing with AI and automation.
Okay. You talked there about kind of vision, identity, and one of the things I know when we spoke earlier in the week, you went from being a business primarily focused on the Aussie market, global business now, and it brings some changes. So specifically with you, how does that shift your role as a leader from managing a global business, and how do you maintain or keep everyone focused on the vision, maintain trust, and key thing is kind of keep the culture, because that must be complex.
It's hard. It's you're going from, and some of our customers have done this and are going through that. You're going through, you have a relatively good core and kernel of your business, and then you expand geographically, whether you're expanding across Australia, into New Zealand, but definitely into other faraway time zones and locations, North America, UK, what have you. So the most important thing is like anything is people.
Yeah.
You got to find the best people. Be thoughtful about how you're going to actually scale. What do you keep central?
Mm-hmm.
How are you going to staff up globally? So we've got two strong leaders in the UK, which is our next biggest market, and put a lot of thought into who do we bring onto the team, right? And they know fully well what they're also getting into, and we know what we have to do to support that team, and juggling those time zones and maintaining that strong connection and that trust. Mm-hmm. You just got to keep thoughtful how you do that every day, every week.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you. I want to read a quote from you because it's one that caught my attention, and again, it's not specific to JobAdder. So you said there's a lot of tech out there. It's full of AI and automation, bells and whistles, claiming to make life easier, but it's doing the opposite. Recruiters want the iPhone version of software, but most are still stuck from a BlackBerry. I'd just love you to unpack that a bit, if you could. Yeah. And I kind of agree with the sentiments, but...
Yeah, well, it's, there's I don't know if you've heard of this thing. It's if I had a whiteboard, I'd be whiteboarding out right now. I love my whiteboards, but, every tech innovation, cycle has the same pattern. Yeah. It's called the Gartner hype cycle. So what you have is this this innovation trigger. And the innovation trigger for AI was 3 years ago. That was ChatGPT. It was literally 3 years ago, November 2022. And so the reason why that was a trigger was because everyone now understood, wow, how amazing AI could be, right? The mainstream just got it. It was like when Google first came out with their search interface. The new iPhone came out. That's the trigger. Now what happens is it doesn't all of a sudden change at once and all of a sudden it's delivering results. There's an MIT study that came out just this year where they found that 95% of companies who are trying to incorporate generative AI are failing. That's 19 out of 20. So there's a disconnect. Yeah. You've got this amazing potential, but you're not getting the results. Why is that happening? And I think it's happening because, well, it's a natural sort of curve, but you have a lot of vendors that are out there. They're coming up with seemingly really good solutions, but how are they developing them? It's tech first. It's hey, we've got this bright, shiny object. It does all these cool things, this whole list of features. Just come over here, do this, do that, learn how to do prompts, learn how to do this, figure this out, and then go back to what you're doing. No. Why do you have to come over there and then go back to what you're doing?
Yeah.
So rather than tech first, have it be a recruiter first.
Yeah. So,
and when you're a recruiter first, you're thinking about the customer first, and you're designing things that are much more intuitive. So, if you're in your workflow, it should just be it's like a red carpet in front of you, right? It shouldn't be okay, now I got to walk up those steps.
Yeah, I like it. Brings me on to next point. One of my favorite, most overused stats that I have, the JobAdder agency benchmarking report. 96 of recruitment founders dissatisfied with their BD strategy. And you see this more and more. Any service provider is being asked for more. What are you doing to help me kind of win business? So I guess we know what JobAdder does, but how, or any examples of where you're helping these agency founders grow or win business?
Yeah. I think two ways in particular. I mean, one, we have a fantastic community, a fantastic community of customers, people who are really good at what they do. We got people like you who we work with as well, who I think are amazing examples and also coaches in the industry that help other recruitment agents. And the recruitment agency is an interesting and fascinating market to me, because you have seemingly thousands of competitors, but they really actually look out for each other at the end of the day. They love to learn from each other. And I think it's an amazing community that we can continue to tap more and more into. So we do things like whether it be webinars or other things to be able to help foster thought leadership, right? I think that's really important. How do we learn from each other? And we do things like within the product that also foster that too, whether it be our own community pages or learning hub, et cetera. So that's one side, just the community side.
Yeah.
And then the other is, okay, what can we do within the JobAdder product? Yeah. And that's, I'm talking to the master here when it comes to BD, but you could tell me more about this than I could tell. But when you're thinking about BD, or at least one way to think about BD is, okay, well, who are you targeting? You have to be thoughtful about that. There's so much BD that's happening right now that's it's spray and pray.
Yeah.
So we have things like start with a lead feed in the product to give you new leads, that from previous clients, existing clients, of roles that they're opening, that flows into your opportunities module, so you can then track that whole pipeline of opportunities. And then we're going to be coming out in just a few months in February with more high-powered automated outreach tools, so email sequencing, et cetera. Because it's like how can you be smarter about doing BD, for example, than just spraying and praying and keyboard warrior. I mean, because ideally you want to get to ultimately a face-to-face. Yeah.
I appreciate the kind sentiments and I appreciate the partnership. And the reason I wasn't at the launch yesterday is because I was helping an agency that's part of this 96 with the BD, so I do apologise. But a question I wanted to ask, and I mentioned before, when you are the market leader, you've got so much kind of market share, right? People are quick enough, and people love to kind of criticise. This isn't working. And I'll give you an example. Even with yesterday, people said, they were behind with the kind of the AI, etc., right? And then you go, bang, which I actually think is really smart. You've got time to kind of sit back. But any examples of where your team have helped kind of customers go the extra mile?
Yeah. I love the team. I'm just pausing, right? Because if you met people on my team, right? Someone like Justin Brown, right? Shout out to JB.
Yeah, JB, good guy.
JB.
Wears nice jackets, like JB.
Yeah, by the way, I feel underdressed. I'm usually a jacket guy.
Yeah,
but,
I'm surprised at that actually, but it's noted.
Yeah. So how we go out of the way of customers, I mean, countless examples, but so how do we actually, I'd say maybe the way to answer it too is how do we support going out of the way?
Yep.
And so we do little things like, internally. So we have, we use Slack. We've got a Slack channel that's called, #JALove. And what that's about is like anytime we get positive feedback from a customer, we share it with everybody, because that just keeps us going. And then if you've got that positive reinforcement of getting feedback, then it just keeps you going to do more. Yeah. And so, can I read something?
Please.
Yeah,
Please.
because it's, give me a second, I'm just gonna pull up on my phone. Because again, it's all about the team and supporting the team and what they're doing. So we had this even a couple days ago. This is one of the feedback that we got from a customer in this channel. So this was, hi, I've had quite a few email chats with Sophie, and as an ex-support team manager, I am fully aware of the lack of recognition customers give to support personnel. So I'm bucking the trend. You have a star in Sophie, replies quickly, great knowledge, good information, and goes the extra mile. I'm very impressed. Give her a wage increase and promotion. Good support staff are hard to find. I know that from my previous and current roles, Ted. Yeah. This is the stuff that's awesome, right? How great is that to get? So if you can get stuff like that, and you can keep that going, then the team, because if you're in support, right, that's a tough role. Yeah. It's a tough role. And listen, 9 out of 10 customers are amazing. Yeah. They're the type of people at a restaurant and they're nice to the waiter. Yeah. Then you get 1 out of 10.
Yes.
Or just like, why are you being rude to the waiter? We're doing our best, right? But
Yeah.
like, again, the feedback is good, and so that's why you just got to support your team.
I love it. And as I say, it is, people are quick enough to criticize, not necessarily give credit, right? So no, that's cool. Well done, Sophie. What are the top performing recruitment agencies doing when it's specific to kind of BD? What are you seeing? Any kind of behaviors, traits?
Yeah. And listen, I am, of course, the tech guy,
Yep.
and I can say, oh, they're doing, using this kind of tech and using that kind of tech. I think, but a lot of it is going back to the basics.
Okay.
I mean, going back to the basics as in, I'd say we have tech maybe to an extreme, so we're over-reliant on what we can do with communication tech, for example, with emails, with texts, et cetera. But in our survey we found, guess what was still, thankfully, the most popular piece of technology that people recommend for BD? It's the telephone.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
Long live the warm call, not the cold call. Which I've
Yeah,
said.
yeah.
Totally.
So I think that the best agencies, the ones who are a cut above the rest,
Yeah.
are investing in training,
Yeah.
are going back to the basics,
Yeah.
are raising the bar when it comes to performance as well. They've usually got a couple higher performers that they're using for role models who are going that extra yard to one, be thoughtful about how they're doing their BD, but two, actually, also doing the right kind of activities and the right kind of outreach. And three, if your ratio of activity I'm doing to actual face-to-face meetings is solid, that's when you know you're winning.
Yeah.
Like if you can get a higher ratio, as in lower number of activities to higher actual face-to-face meetings, and maximize that, then that's when you know you're winning. And I think that connection and that personal connection is what's been devalued or undervalued.
Oh man, 100%. It brings me on to, and I said this yesterday. I was with a recruitment business, right? And there's two things. You've got those with the change mindset and those that are kind of resistant to change, or those that are anti-tech versus trying to go full on into tech and automation.
Yeah.
And the sweet spot's in the middle.
Yeah.
And if I look, even myself, what I say is using the tools, using the smart tools to enable more conversations, more of this, right? The human interaction. And you see in those that are kind of getting there or understanding this, the productivity is kind of taken off. So I guess that kind of leads me on to the next thing. You talk about human-led, kind of tech-enabled kind of recruitment. So what does that kind of look like, do you think, in the next kind of few years?
Yeah, I think, so I think going back to it's mostly the possibilities that we see with AI.
Yep.
So I think there's some things that are well within our grasp that's already happening with AI, whether it's BD related or candidate related. But number one, first and foremost, is eliminating the tedious admin. Like how much of that, because ultimately, recruitment arguably is the most human-centric profession.
Yeah.
And there have been quotes that have been extreme and I'd say absurd about what AI is going to do to recruitment. There's one that's, agency recruitment is DOA, it's dead on arrival.
Yeah.
And I would argue the opposite.
Yeah.
Right? I think that professions like recruitment that really value that human connection between myself as a recruiter and let's say you as a candidate or you as a client are now even more important.
Yeah.
Right? Because we see all the noise that's happening with AI out there. We see all the AI created CVs or job applications, et cetera. So at the end of the day, if I'm a company, if I'm a hiring manager, I want a trusted partner who's going to say, hey, these are people I vouch for. These are people who I know, knowing you and knowing what you're hiring, who you're hiring for, and knowing, the qualities, the actual verified qualities of these people, I'll bring them to you. And so what you get with AI is if you eliminate a lot of that admin, so I can get the higher value connections, so I can develop those. Yeah. I can get, therefore, a better candidate experience, right? Because now I'm actually spending more time with candidates, getting to know them, and getting to the right ones faster, because I have deeper insights. And so those are the ones those are the more imminent possibilities.
Thank you. So Bit of a segue into, I want to talk to you about leadership. What separates leaders who embrace innovation from kind of those who resist it? And I kind of said there before, I see this in recruitment. There's those who are leaning into it versus those. What do you think the impact is on that?
Yeah. So I think that we have, maybe to one way to put it, is that we've got 4 different values. It's customer, empathy, customer, innovation, results. And for results, one thing that we say to be able to underpin that is embrace change. And I think leadership is, again, whatever kind of industry you're in, whatever kind of recruitment you're doing, whatever kind of tech you're doing, leadership is usually about managing change. And I think that if you got to do a couple things that are really helpful with that. One, have a pretty firm, clear view on where you think things are going and where you're going to take your company. Mm-hmm. And then the other is, it's that constant storytelling to your team. Mm-hmm. Particularly if you're running bigger teams. If you're running some more larger agency customers, or if you're a leader running a company with dozens of employees, constant, clear communication on where you're going, so you can manage that change is important, right? Because at the end of the day, everyone's kind of creatures of habit, yeah. And change is hard. Because why is change hard? Change is hard is because I have to let something go. Yeah. I have to deal with loss. I can't do this anymore. I can't value the thing that I value before. I'm not supposed to value anymore. So then, as a leader, then you need to then say, well, hey, here is the value, and here's where we're going, and here's why it's so compelling. So I can then, as a employee, feel a lot more confident to be able to grab onto that, so I can let this go.
Yeah, that's about the vision, right?
Yeah.
And getting the interest. Yeah. And the next point, and this is something I've said recently, it ruffled a few feathers. But the skills or the tactics, the strategies that made you successful 5 years ago, probably not going to cut it in the next kind of 5 years. What would your kind of take be? And I guess what would be the mindset? What would you advise people need to think about to be successful in the next kind of 5 years?
Yeah, I think ability to manage change is again, not to repeat myself, but that's still is just as important, if not more important, because we see in the last particularly 10 to 20 years, and definitely going forward, that the actual cycle time of new things coming through is happening faster and faster, particularly with tech and with geopolitical situations. So being able to support your team, be clear about your values, and then communicate well will help you do that. And then I think the other thing is that as a leader, give yourself time to, and this is a constant battle I have. Yeah. Because there's always stuff to do. There's always fires to put out. Yeah. Right? Like every day there's a fire to put out. Right? And the hard thing is actually saying, all right, now I'm going to push all that out. Yeah. I'm going to either, right, create time for, to really think about the future, to do workshop with my teammates or to my leadership team, or whatever that may be, or I'm going to carve out the time to do training, learning, and development, because otherwise, you need to have control of where you're going, because you can easily just be in a reactive mode, and then you're not actually managing the change, you're just getting changed. Yeah.
How do you, it's a great point, and I've seen this many businesses that I've been working with recently. How do you retain kind of culture when you're going through change, and maybe that you are trying to kind of shift culture, do you know what I mean? How do you kind of retain it and ensure that it's kind of, it's in growth kind of mindset almost?
Yeah, I think, so again, just one example that we have is that we have these 4 different values: empathy, customer, innovation, results, and those are kind of like our pillars of our cultural foundation. Yeah. And depending on where things are going, we may flex more on one than the other. But they all always exist. And so we'll flex more on one than the other depending on the situation. We can always refer back to when we're going through a difficult situation to this is why and this is how we do it.
Love that.
And, you know, when you're going through a tough time,
Yeah.
that's when the culture really shines through.
Yeah, true.
You know, that's when,
Yeah.
you know, because lots of companies talk about culture.
Yeah, we're a family, it's our culture.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But then they don't, then it's okay, well, how are you living it, right?
Yeah.
And that's when also your employees will be like, wait a second,
Yeah.
this is not us.
Yeah.
So you got to back that up.
Yeah, yeah, very much so.
Yeah.
I love that. And going back to the values. So Mike, kind of in coming to an end, the next kind of 3 to 5 years, what do you think will shape the kind of the future of recruitment? And yeah, how do you kind of see that next year? And I think we all agree it's not DOA, it's not finished. I actually see a lot of opportunities.
Yeah.
So what's your take on that?
Yeah, I think, and this isn't something that's that new. It's probably, you know, something that's been talked about in recruitment for a while, but I think it's even more important now is your own brand and identity and what's your specialization.
Yeah.
Because what we're seeing happening now, and we're going to see happen going forward, is that AI will do a lot of the work for recruitment. But then what's the core of the work is essentially, okay, is those relationships and those talent pools and those networks and the client relationships that you have. And the more that you can say, hey, here's the identity I have, here's my brand, here's what I bring to the table, here's, you know, the particular role that the industry, the kind of company, the kind of, you know, community that I've created, that's critical.
Yeah.
Because otherwise you just become a commodity. And the commoditized, we're seeing this, you know, the more commoditized agencies are really getting hammered.
Yeah. I couldn't agree more. I think you'll see we are at the start of this kind of AI revolution, right?
Yeah.
And if you're not specialist and you're not really focused on the high value kind of things, and also that people side, you know, you're not taking care of both your candidates and your clients, you're gonna find it tough.
Yeah.
Right? It's, you know, being transactional is not going to work. And the final question: what does change the game mean to you, sir, in the context of leadership, technology, life? What does that mean to you?
Change the game, yeah. So the change the game is, I didn't think about this question, so now.
Careful one.
That was like the most important question.
Exactly, come on.
It's like, oh yeah, well that's why we're here.
Yeah.
So change the game. So I'm going to answer it in a way that's sort of counterintuitive, but I think you know, before you change the game, you got to be true to yourself.
Yeah.
You got to know yourself. And so if you know yourself and you know who you are, whether it be individually or as a company, you know, leader in that company, then you'll be much better to be able to change things going forward. Because I've, you know, seen too often, and I've been in situations like this before, it's like, oh shit, FOMO. You know, this is where things, you know, I need to be. This is where people are going. But start with yourself and what are you passionate about? What are you really good at?
Yeah.
And then, okay, how do I get more of that?
Yeah.
And then you can change.
Yeah.
So that's.
Thank you very much. It's been a pleasure. That was a great way to end. So many kind of key takeaways. I really appreciate your time, man. You know, I'm talking there a lot. The takeaways from me, you know, you talk about the importance of a vision, you know, from leadership, you know, culture, and, you know, embracing change. You know, and it's fascinating talking about this with kind of AI, right? I think everyone's just kind of been saturated with it, but I think even takeaways, we talk specific to the recruitment space, it's still a people sport, right? Or a contact sport. It's a people industry, right? So use the tools wisely to enable more kind of human connection, etc. But mate, thank you very much. I appreciate you joining me today. It's been great. So thank you, everybody. And until next time. So thank you, Jeff, once again for videoing it. You've done a wonderful job. Appreciate it. And I'm going to wrap up. And just so everyone knows, yes, I did do a session in here today and they put me through my paces and my calf went. So that's me.
We're going to get the ring now, right?
Exactly. So I'm definitely not getting any younger, but thank you. Until next time.